Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. I'm Tyler Edlin and this is Brush Sauce Theater. In this episode I'll be sharing my thoughts on whether or not we can, as artists, can see and envision an entire painting or scene or concept before we complete it, or maybe even before we begin, and also how we can get more emotions out of our work and how we can bring our audience to there. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Brush Sauce. I'm kind of doing this video off the top of my head, just share some thoughts, and kind of talk about just kind of finishing images and what you kind of perceive them to be, and how do you actually see them before they're completed, in your head. How far does your imagination go before the creative process kind of takes over? And I completed an image here recently. A lot of it was done over a very long period of time as like kind of intermittent demos for various students for my mentorship, but I finally kind of completed it, and it ended up being a weird type of image, a weird kind of exercise for myself, and I didn't do any thumbnails for it. I didn't plan it out in any sort of way. It was at the time when I was playing Dark Souls 3, and I was playing a Pyromancer character, one of my favorite builds. And of course, those stories don't really have too much of a story that you don't really find or run into when you're digging into it. It has its fair share of lore, but your characters are all kind of blank slates basically. And so I wanted to envision in the Dark Souls universe basically a homeland or a hometown or something like that my guy would kind of been derived from, and or maybe he grew up, or it's something weird like that. So I wanted to kind of have a dark and forbidding type of atmosphere and environment, and something that kind of visually kind of goes in line with some of the more kind of weirder or maybe obtuse type of shapes or eeriness that you get from that universe. And so that's kind of how I ultimately arrived here. But it was really the initial. I bought an image pack from, I believe, photobash.org, and had a bunch of cool photo references, and I had this in here. So basically, it was just kind of thumbing through my own referencing, and while thinking about Dark Souls at the time, because I was playing a lot of it each night, and I was like looking at that, and I was like, pretty cool. This is very kind of typical for a Dark Souls environment. What would, how would I was really trying to place my imagination there to figure out, where, not only from role playing the character at, in the video game, but like really trying to get into the, like, maybe I could make his own backstory and how he became, one in this cult or this group of this clan of people that could really wield like the power of flame and lived in the swamps, of course. So that's about all we know, that they kind of live in the swamps from the game itself. And so I started with this image and I wanted to use it, and so it became a personal kind of goal or exercise, really, to, alright, let's just start with this photo and start painting over it and really kind of see where things go. Very kind of spontaneous, and I'll basically, where's my imagination going to take me? And so I immediately just kind of, this isn't going to be a walkthrough type of video, but just briefly overviewing my thoughts and process and how it grew. And I immediately just start stylizing and shaping the shapes and kind of doing a little bit of light photo bashing. And I started getting a cool type of vibe from it, but it still lacked. It got very busy. Like, this would have to be it at, on its own basis. This could almost be a completed image within itself. I mean, aside from some rougher, finer points to it, but I realized it got this busy, and I didn't even have my huts and my characters and all that in it. So I had to really kind of take it into a new direction. I needed to place some characters in the scene and begin to kind of simplify, like a lot of simplification. This painting quickly become, once I began it, it became an exercise for myself in simplification, because I tend to overcomplicate things rather quickly. And I'd advise many of you not to do that and avoid it and stay simple as long as you can. But I got very busy. I got all the houses, all the huts. I got a vast kind of city kind of coming around this major type of temple or a construct here, and it got really busy really quick. So that's the huge leap from the first one to the second one. And I don't know, maybe I can put them both into view a little bit better in terms of zooming out. Let me see. I'm sorry. There we go. We can kind of see them both. But yeah, how'd I simplify? I grouped the values a little bit better. I took away a little of the contrast. I softened here a little bit of the lighting. I obscured more detail. I implied more depth. So various little tricks that I've kind of picked up over the years from my experience, and it kind of really helped me get there. But again, I had no really idea where it was going, except that I was basically, if we took it from the original photo, right, I was basically location scouting if I was in the realm of film, and I found, yeah, this could kind of work, and then we basically add all the set dressing and the special effects, and here we go, and we have a kind of a more finished result. So if you're like me, and in this case, and you're not, doing thumbnails, and I actually, listen to what I say, do thumbnails, plan your images out, particularly if you're learning. You do as I say, not as I do, and your image will be better for it. Now, I don't always work this way. I work a lot of ways. I change up the workflow a lot, basically depending on what I'm working on. So I think for this, sometimes I do have a really kind of clear image in my head. I mean, after I've kind of explored thumbnails. So I know it's a little tiny here, and I can't even put it up, I guess, on the screen that high. Let me see here, like this. See my original thumbnail, and I think the final version, more or less design and aesthetic and layout wise, came out the same way. It just basically with a whole lot more detail. This is very detailed. I don't even know how to simplify something like that, if I'm being honest. So again, when you're setting out to do an image, the story should always come first. What story are you trying to tell with it? And let that kind of creative juice kind of flow into what that story is, what kind of mood you're going for, basically the feeling you want that viewer to feel as well. And sometimes it's just a matter of just kind of jumping in and actually working it, either with thumbnails or looking at the right sort of reference photos can really just inspire you. But yeah, how do you guys feel? Do you guys often have a crystal clear type of image in your head before you begin to paint and create, or do you have to thumb through lots of scribbles, find abstract shapes, and basically kind of work things kind of all the way? Again, another one I roughly kind of started at. I mean, I had a kind of a clear idea where I wanted this to go, but it took a lot of in this case took a lot of thumbnails to figure out what I didn't want, and I didn't understand what I didn't want until I saw it in front of me in some kind of visual form. And it's some of the issues I've had with some students, or not issues, but some of the growing pains, I guess artistically, that some people have, and maybe some of you experience this as well, is that I had this one student. He could do lots of thumbnails like this, get images basically like this, but he before he kind of joined up with me, he never kind of really progressed them forward. He was more or less like a sketch artist, and it was just, he had this fear that he didn't have the knowledge to take something like this image on screen, to further, something more finished. And he would just basically overwhelm himself. He put this burden on his shoulders, and it just it overwhelmed to the point, okay, I got the idea out of my head, to some degree, and he would move on. So I put the shackles on him. We're gonna work through this, and we did. We got through it and had some good success. Of course, the way to fight that is you just have to kind of dive in. Put your pencil on the page, put your tablet, your pen on the tablet, and just start working. You'll start connecting the dots. Where do I start? oh, blue sky, so we paint the blue sky, right? Then what comes next after the blue sky? Oh, we got to start blocking in the building. So you start going, on a micro level, task to task, line to line, stroke to stroke, and you can start figuring things out on the fly. If things don't work, and you can kind of visually assess that, then you can switch them around, move things out. And I guess one of the closest analogies I can get to that is doing kind of like Sudoku, right? You have a few kind of templates of where you want to go with the numbers. You put them in. If they don't work, you rearrange them. Same thing in a painting. So yeah, I guess that kind of concludes this for this little art talk. I guess it's brush sauce theater art talk. I guess what this is, and I'm doing it late, and I'm on some Red Bull, so I had no other time to do this. So I pardon if the lighting is terrible or it's hard to hear me. I do have a lot of people sleeping here, but hey, share your thoughts in terms of where do you find your success, or where are your fears with your art? Do you hit major roadblocks before where you got to a certain level or a certain step in every painting and you just never progress forward? Is it? And I had this other student. He could do amazing black and white stuff. Never jumped to color, only because he had a fear of it. Again, you just got to start throwing color on it. If it doesn't work the first try, rearrange the color, apply new color. Particularly if you're working digitally these days, it's an easy thing to be not committed to your art too early. To try not to get attached. Make sure everything is almost like dispensable in a way, so that you can change things out, switch them, throw them away, put a new idea in. One of the best tips I can give, really, from my experience. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think. If you liked it, of course, like and subscribe. I'd appreciate all that. And yeah, I'll see you soon. I'm posting a lot of work, actually. I don't think I've ever mentioned this on Instagram these days. I'll have a link below in the description. Almost every other day or every day I'm either posting some kind of work. So yeah, I'd appreciate it if you follow me on there, or let me know and I'll follow you. Alright, so take care. And one more thing before we go today. This was a different format for my videos. It was more of an art topic, focus-based one, and they were easier for me to produce. So if you did enjoy it, let me know in the description, and feel free to suggest all the topics you want that I could cover on this channel. Alright? Bye. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click like. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. It helps me out and keeps you up to date. Now, I'm also available on Facebook and Twitter. Now, if you're itching to learn even more, I have plenty of more full-length and in-depth tutorials in my online shop, covering a variety of subject matters and topics. And going even further, I also offer my own online mentorship. Please just email me for availability and rates. Did you just chime in? Well, feel free to click the last episode right here. Thanks again, and take care.